Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, the 15th of March, 2023. And at lunchtime today, we had Chancellor Jeremy Hunt's spring 2023 budget. And with me this afternoon, I have Keely Hughes from our private client team. Hi, Keely.
Hello.
And Brian Jukes, who's a partner in our corporate tax team. Hello, Brian.
Hi there.
And I'm Martin Gibbs. Now, Brian, this is getting a bit confusing, isn't it? Because 12 months ago, we had a spring statement in March 22.
Yep.
The previous autumn, we had a budget. So we've gone budget, spring statement. Well, tell me briefly what happened in the autumn of 22.
Where do I start? It was called a mini budget, I think.
Yeah.
But the reality was it was an absolute shambles in September 2022. We all try to forget that, but unfortunately it did happen, and we've been trying to correct it ever since. Then there was an autumn statement in November delivered by Mr. Hunt, and now he has his first budget.
So, yes, today's spring budget. What were the headlines for you, Brian?
I couldn't help sitting through the whole budget thinking this is quite an empty budget, but then it was trailed as being a boring budget. They wanted it to be a boring budget.
Just about everything was on the BBC website this morning.
Apart from one little tweak, which was, that was quite exciting.
Is it the pension changes which are top of your list?
They were quite, I was quite happy about them, to be honest. And I'm sure the doctors that are our clients will be happy about the changes too. So the annual allowance has been increased to 60,000, and that's gone up from the 40,000. And then the big announcement that wasn't leaked beforehand was the abolishment of the lifetime allowance.
Yes, on our Dafferns workplace feed, Rachel Legg, who's one of our IFAs from Dafferns Wealth, is ridiculously overexcited about the abolition of the lifetime allowance. The BBC were trailing earlier that it was going to go to 1.8 million. The surprise is it's just gone.
Yeah, so from April 23, the lifetime allowance charge is being scrapped, and then it'll be completely abolished from April 2024.
So, Brian, on the £60,000 employer pension contribution limit, are there any restrictions on that?
It's exactly the same set of rules that we had in respect of the 40,000, as long as it's wholly and exclusively for the benefit of the business, the trade.
Brian, one of the things we've been keeping a close eye on is the super deduction for capital allowances, which has been in place for the last 2 years and ends on 31st March. We were rather hoping that they were going to extend it.
There is a new capital allowance that's been announced. That's going to provide a 100% write-off for all expenditure on plant and machinery type assets. It's only really relevant to very large companies because the annual investment allowance at the rate of £1 million, that carries on. That covers the expenditure for the vast majority of companies. So it's only those very large businesses that are going to be interested in this extension, if you like, of the super deduction, which is brought back down to a 100% write-off.
But they're calling it full expensing, but it's a little bit smoke and mirrors. It's not as good as super deduction, but it is here for the long term rather than being a short-term measure like super deduction.
Correct. And we really mustn't forget that the much trailed and, of course, up and down, in and out, hokey cokey of the increase in corporation tax to 25%, that is indeed going ahead. I even said the other day that I would be betting my house on that one going up to 25%. And it gives me something to talk about and something to plan. And we have the joys of marginal relief coming back.
There were some changes announced, Brian, with research and development.
Yes, I'm glad you asked me about that. Probably only going to affect a very small number of businesses, but there is a change targeted at SMEs that are conducting so much research and development that it constitutes at least 40% of their expenditure. So you're looking at the intensive research companies like pharma, AI, perhaps some engineering sectors, but it's a very small number. What we're seeing there is an increase in the R&D tax credit, the repayable tax credit, to 27%, where previously it would have been going down to 18.6%.
One of the big trailed in advanced features of this budget was the support for household energy prices. Keely, what's your take on that?
It's good that they're extending it by 3 months, the 2,500 cap, and then hopefully in July when that extension ends, the energy prices will decrease.
That's certainly what the Chancellor is expecting. And I think that probably leads into, Brian, a little bit of the backup that the Chancellor has got to this budget speech. He's had it effectively pre-measured by the OBR.
Yes, I'm very pleased to see that we've gone back to sanity, and the Chancellor is making sure that the OBR have had a good look at his proposals in advance of the budget presentation. So everything that's been announced is backed up by OBR reaction and analysis, which is what the markets need.
He started with the OBR's view that inflation could be down to 2.9% by December 2023 from 10.7% in December 22.
I think it's likely to happen. Prices were at a very high level in December 2022. So come to December 23, you would expect prices to have come back to a more sustainable level.
The other headline for the budget relates to what we're calling the support for return to work.
There were two particularly significant measures that I took away from this budget. One was the whole raft of measures to make childcare more affordable and extend it to more children. The other was returnership, which is to try to incentivize over 50s to come back, perhaps retrain in some other line of work that they weren't previously within, generating new skills and more workforce.
Mr. Hunt did say that he himself had taken heed of this. At the age of 56, had started a new career in finance.
He had. And I'm sure somebody quipped, and how's that going for you?
And I think his response was, it's going pretty well at the moment. So.
Yes.
So boring is good. Not a lot in this budget. However, we are still faced with some significant tax from the 6th of April, all of which were included in Mr. Hunt's November 22 autumn statement.
So the capital gains annual exemption is more than halving from the 6th of April 2023 to 6,000. Currently, it's 12,300. So that's quite a significant change. And then it's halving again from April 2024 to just £3,000.
Also, there's changes to dividend tax.
Yes. So currently the dividend allowance is £2,000. So the first £2,000 currently of dividends at 0%. From April 2023, this will halve to 1,000, and then again from April 24, it will halve again to £500.
Yes, because this links into our previous video on the autumn statement, and I will leave a link up there or down there or something, so you can go and check that out, where we summarized all of the tax changes that were announced with the autumn statement.
Yeah, I was going to say another one to remember is the additional rate tax of 45% is starting at 125,140. Previously, it didn't start until 150,000, and that's also the limit that the personal allowance gets abated in full as well. If
you want to hear Brian explaining why they've got this weird number of 125,140, it's in our November 22 video. There's a lot of tax changes and a lot of tax increases coming. They were all announced in November. The UK economy is doing slightly better than was anticipated last November. So there's certainly more positivity about. And if this was a boring budget, boring is good, isn't it, guys?
On this occasion, yes.
The Chancellor kept talking about his 4 E's: enterprise, employment, education, and everywhere. You were making the point, Brian, that he's missed one out.
Yes, something that's very close to my heart, the environment. Successive chancellors seem to be ignoring the environment. We're running out of time to start focusing on it. So please, please, please focus on the environment, Mr. Chancellor.
The Independent described his 4 E's as exceptionally, entirely, egregiously empty. But we'll leave that for other people to take a view on.
Empty is good.
Thank you, Keely. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Please check out the Dafferns website for our usual comprehensive coverage of the budget. And we will see you again, probably in the autumn, for what may be an autumn statement or maybe another budget. Who knows? Anyway, cheers, guys. See you soon.